computer, and I'm going to share my screen now. And I want to ask you guys if you can describe for me the metaphor of a silver lining. So I'm looking for you to raise your hand electronically and to share with me the metaphor of a silver lining. Go for it, Alex.
Well, a silver lining is like the good part of something.
Yeah.
Like
it's often used. Can anybody else add to that explanation? Haley, what do you think? A silver lining is the good, but is there a contrast there?
Maybe like the silver lining is like the good thing and like the good part of like something.
Yes, but the good part of a what? Sahan, what do you think? It's the good part of a what?
of an event?
Yeah, but you know, silver linings, guys, this is really important, okay? And whenever there is a bad situation, and I would say that this little pandemic we have here is about as bad as it can get, right? Now, I always look for silver linings. That means that I look for the good in something bad. So a silver lining, at least my definition, is when something great comes out of something bad.
Like, for example, even if we have to do online learning, some advantages for people who love watching television is you get to watch more of it.
You know, that is one way to look at it. Now, for instance, I think that the online learning has added an element that we didn't have before. And that is the ability to record, the ability to really take down the information that we have. And frankly, you guys get a lot more visuals during the online. So to me, online has been a real advantage. I think we get actually more done in an online environment. But I'm thinking of other silver linings. Guys, in this pandemic, what are your personal silver linings? What are those things that you never really thought of before or you took for granted, and now you're like, wow, this is actually great? And I want to start with Serena. Do you know what we're talking about now, Serena?
No.
So we're talking about the silver lining, which is something great that comes out of something bad. The silver lining in this whole pandemic for you. What has come out of this that has been a real positive? And why don't we start with Shahan and then Sahaj, and then we can go around the bush here. So go ahead, Sahaj.
So the silver lining that came out of the coronavirus for me is all the extra resources, because at regular school, we weren't able to go onto, let's say, NASA Kids anytime we wanted. But now at times, if we finish work early, if we have a break, we can just go on to NASA Kids or any other like resources. 'Cause that's what I do.
Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. I'm loving that one. Who's going to add to that? Alex?
Well,
and then Shahan, I'm going to do you next.
So that was one of the ones that I had. But another one that I take for granted is, well, even if you're someone who likes alone time, you get a lot of alone time and just peace and quiet from all of the hustle and the bustle of school and all the things you have to do.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. And Haley, you got a definite on that one. And then Shahan, what about you? And then Serena.
coronavirus is making everybody like not use planes and trains, and it's all like fixing climate change a little bit. And I'm not saying I'm taking that for granted, but yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, I love it. I love it. The positive effect, positive effect. Beautiful job, Serena.
Maybe well,
And Haley, you think of one as well, please.
we get to learn more about computers.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because that's really your future, guys. Computers run the world in so many ways, and everybody is becoming much more competent on the computer. Beautiful, beautiful one. How about you, Haley?
Well, I got better at my typing because like so much online work.
Interesting. So you got better at typing. Wow. That is a cool one. I didn't even think about that. That is very cool. Now, for me, I want to add on a few to that. So one of the thing is that Lincoln Center in New York is one of the great theater areas. And
I know that place.
they do
The
these
ballet.
wonderful, wonderful concerts and plays. And they have been offering free concerts of Broadway plays and concerts like yesterday, Yo-Yo Ma with a great cellist did a 20-minute thing. And a few nights ago, they did The King and I, which is a wonderful old play, Rodgers and Hammerstein. So that is really special. The other thing is I'm spending a lot more time with family. I mean, that is something that is wonderful because we're all together. Hey, hi, Brandon. How are you, buddy? So,
Good.
Brandon.
I just had some technical issues.
Oh, don't worry about it, buddy. So, Brandon, what we're talking about is the silver linings, which is something great that it comes out of something bad that we have experienced during this pandemic. So do you have anything that you, and I put a bunch of them down here. Do you have anything that you, that's really good that's come out of this for you?
Well, my sister has come home, so I finally have some kid sort of person to interact with.
Oh, that's great. That's really, really wonderful, Brandon. And guys, I want to talk about something. Oh, Serena, yes, honey, go ahead.
Yeah, I have another one.
What's that?
My neighbor, I usually don't get to spend as much time with him. He's a year younger than me. And now that I don't really have much of school, I can play with him more because we're like writing a book and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I got to write that down. You're writing a book. Oh my God. Do you realize that someday, Serena, if that book becomes like a famous book that changes the world, that we're all going to say it happened because of the coronavirus? So really, really cool. And, you know, we've talked a little bit. Yes, Shahan?
Well, this is not a question, but if a meteor is gonna crash into the Earth and we're all gonna go extinct, what's the silver lining in that?
You know, that is a great question. I bet that there are a few examples. There probably only are a few examples where there is just no silver lining. Okay? And even, I would even say, and by the way, Sean, you have definitely talked about one of those examples. Now, the odds of that happening are, you know, almost non-existent.
1,000,000 to 1.
Well, no, they're way, way lower. Way, way lower than 1,000,000 to 1. 1,000,000 to 1 is actually pretty high compared to that
Oh no, 1 to a
scenario.
million. 1 to a million.
But I will tell you this. For instance, one day, they think about 1.5 to 3 billion years from now, the sun will go extinct, our sun. Now, that's going to be the end, right? But that's like a billion plus years away. So those are the types of things that I never, ever worry about. But I will tell you that when somebody gets really sick, so I maybe mentioned this before. So I got sick last year, about a year ago, actually, with cancer. And I went through chemotherapy and all this really difficult stuff. And guys, I didn't feel like there was any silver lining at all. And you know, I didn't realize the silver linings until after it was over. So until after I began to, grow my hair back and I got back to being healthy, I started to understand the silver linings. So I kind of agree with you, Shahan, that the silver linings aren't always obvious, but for some reason, I see them everywhere. And I want to talk about one silver lining. I don't know if it was you, Shahan, or Sahaj that raised the issue of climate change. Was it you, Sahaj?
No, Shahan.
Yeah, so Shahan, this is actually the subject of our lesson today. So the biggest silver lining worldwide, and it's called the greatest worldwide experiment. It's the largest scale experiment ever on the planet. It's mind-boggling to think that we would have never had the opportunity to see what the nitrogen dioxide levels would be without our current usage. So nitrogen dioxide, one nitrogen, two oxygen atoms create a molecule, which is essentially toxic gas. And it's produced from our car engines and airplanes and boats and factories and all the things that put that noxious stuff into the air. And the World Health Organization, otherwise known as WHO, they have said that if you have more than 200 micrograms per cubic meter of this nitrogen dioxide, that is considered very, very dangerous. Now, because of the pandemic, the people who have had asthma and other related diseases, they have been breathing much more cleanly. Less people are getting asthma. Viruses are going down because there's less inflammation and we have stronger immunity now. We can fight off bacteria and other microorganisms. The food that our farmers create around the world is so much healthier now than ever before because of the pollution levels. Now, another thing is that because we're not consuming as much, less is going into our landfills. So there's a lot of things going on at the same time. Now, I wanted to give you a visual on a cubic meter. So this is a visual, a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional cubic meter, where the dimensions are 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. And I made these little yellow dots to represent 200 micrograms of NO2, nitrogen dioxide, which is considered unsafe. Does anybody have any idea how much a microgram is? Like, what is a microgram in relationship? And does anybody have any ideas without looking at my sheet? So Alex, go for it.
A microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram.
So let's look at that, guys. 1/1,000,000th of a gram.
Ooh.
Now, we're going to look at a conversion here. 1 cubic centimeter, guys, 1 cubic centimeter, that's a little, by the way, how many centimeters go into 1 meter? Raise your hand electronically, please. You should all know this. So how many centimeters go into 1 meter? Sahaj?
100.
Agreed. And 100 times 100 times 100, folks, is 1 cubic meter of centimeters. And how much is that? What is 100 times 100 times 100? Go.
1 million.
Guys, do you see 2 zeros, 2 zeros, and 2 zeros in the 1 million?
Mm-hmm.
So 1 cubic meter is 1,000,000 cubic centimeters. And 1 cubic centimeter has 1,000 micrograms, which means if you multiply 1,000,000 by 1,000, you get 1 billion micrograms is equivalent to 1 cubic meter. Now, if the WHO says that 200 micrograms, so 200 of 1 billion. Let's look, guys, and everybody write that down. 200 of 1 billion. And do not out loud say what you think. I want you to be thinking about this and write it down. How many parts is this really? If you simplified 200 over 1 billion, you would know what portion of a cubic meter has to be bad in order for it to be dangerous for humans. So who can give me some ideas? Brandon, do you have any ideas about how to simplify this?
I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. You like froze.
Yeah, can you tell me how to simplify this fraction? Who can take that? Haley?
You could each divide by 2.
Oh, definitely divide by 2. But is there something that you might want to do first? Look
The
at
zeros.
0. But what
What's that,
about
the zeros?
what happens if you take off 2 zeros from the top and bottom? What are you actually doing?
You're dividing it by 200.
No.
No,
100.
You are dividing the top and the bottom by 100. And that gives you 2 over what?
10 million.
Exactly. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, do what Haley said to do. Take half of the numerator, half of the denominator, and you get 1 of what?
5 million.
So guys, do you know that it is safe if we have less than 1 part of 5 million? So 1/5 millionth of our air needs to be nitrogen dioxide free in order for us to be healthy. Okay? Now, I'm going to then show you some really interesting facts. The European Space Agency, and Sahaj, since you've looked at some of the NASA things, I don't know if you know, but the European Space Agency is kind of like NASA for the United States. And they have a satellite called Sentinel-5P, which shows a picture of nitrogen dioxide using this scale here. And do you guys see where the 200 level is, guys? Right about here. Anything that's in that orange category is considered dangerous for humans. And if you look over some of my favorite places in the world, Beijing, Wuhan, Hong Kong, all very polluted back January 2020. Now, 1 month later, after they shut down their factories, isn't it almost clear? Do you see it? Now,
What?
it's amazing.
That's amazing.
It gets better. This is Wuhan, guys. This is Wuhan. Now, what I want to show you is that February 2019, Wuhan was literally one of the most polluted places in the world. And that is because of all the factories. And look at it today, guys. It's virtually clear. I mean, the world is really changing. Now, one thing that's interesting is the northern Italy used to be very, very polluted. And it's because the Alps mountain range acts as this big barrier, a big barrier which traps all of the pollution coming from the south because there are a lot of factories. And look at it 1 year later. So pretty amazing stuff. Now, this is why I taught this lesson. My son sent me an article of a picture of a mountain range. And the mountain range is that of the Himalayan mountains. Now, it's one of my favorite mountain ranges in the world, and it's in and around northern India, southern China, Nepal. It actually includes Mount Everest. And guess what, guys? A few months ago, people living in Delhi and other parts of northern India woke up, and for the first times in 30 years, I want you to let that sink in, 30 years, they have not been able to see the sky. And a lot of people, the uneducated people that didn't know geography, had no idea that they were near the Himalayan mountains. Now, I want you to look, this is Delhi, a year ago on the left. This is Delhi today. Delhi has reduced its carbon emissions and its nitrogen dioxide by 60%. So it's one of the most dramatic changes on the planet. It's really very, very special. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about this. This little graph right here is a mathematical graph about poor air quality indices. AQI is air quality index. If the air quality index, as you know, is greater than 200, that's considered very, very dangerous. So these numbers, guys, were rampant around the world. Places like Paris. Who would have thought? One of my favorite cities, very polluted. A year ago, almost gone. Madrid, Spain, and Barcelona are clearing up like never before. Really, really exciting, exciting stuff. Now, this is where NASA put a satellite up called Aura. The NASA satellite, do you know about that, Sahaj?
No, I only watch the videos about outer space, like for galaxies, like farther galaxies, not about
All right.
Earth.
Well, you know, the Aura satellite is about 12,000 miles high, and they have an instrument called an ozone monitoring device. The ozone monitoring device looks at nitrogen dioxide, and I want you to look at the colors, guys. Essentially, anything that is worse than 5, and this is not 5, this is 5 times, you ready for this? 10 to the 15th power of nitrogen dioxide. Now, who can tell me the number that is 5 times 10 to the 15th? Write it out. Don't guess. Write it out. remember each of these exponents, so 10 to the 15th, the one with 15 zeros after it. So don't say it out loud. You can send me a chat.
Wait, 10 with 15 zeros after it?
It's a 1 with 15 zeros after it. That's 10 to the 15th power. Just like, Alex, 100 is 10 to the second power. Two zeros. 1,000. 1,000 is 10 to the third power, and so forth. So what did you guys come up with? And I don't have any, I do have Brandon, but Brandon, remember you have to multiply that by 5. And I also want to know, what is that number called? Does anybody know? And Haley, I love it, but the question is, what is that number called? Notice the commas that I've thrown in there, guys. I have ones, thousands, millions, come on, billions, trillions, and so therefore this must be what?
Quintillion?
Not
Quadrillions?
Quadrillion. So this is 5 quadrillion nitrogen oxide molecules per cubic centimeter. And that is considered, now guys, I'm sorry to say, any of you who love New York, look at New York City and half of Long Island and most of New Jersey. Even Boston was getting into that category that was not the best place. Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., guys, New Jersey, even parts of New York State. Would you like to see what it looks like now?
Mm-hmm.
This is 1 year later. Look at where you live now, guys.
Oh!
Look how beautiful. And I'm going to actually make it a little bigger so you can see it.
What?
Look at the Boston area. Can you guys just breathe in for me?
Wait, that's a year later?
Say, that's a year later. That's a
Really?
year. Yep. And so we have had a 30% reduction of nitrogen dioxide. 30%. Look at Boston, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Now you could say, oh, New York is still bad, but do you see how much more clear it is? Even New Jersey is starting to clear up. And I wonder what is going to happen when people start going back to work. Do you think that people are going to want to live in clean or polluted environments? And it's a really interesting thing to me because I choose clean. Now, I want you guys to go to page 6 in your packets. If you have your packets, you don't have to have them, but if you do. Now, I gave you the link to this page. And what I'm doing is I wanted to show you the pollution decreases in all of these major cities around the world. Is there anything here that's a little troublesome to you or that you don't understand? Something that sort of...
Rome got plus 30?
Yeah.
That's not so good.
What is that all about, guys? Does anybody have any theories about Rome, which is, by the way, in central Italy, not near northern Italy, like I showed you before? Can anybody tell me why they think Rome has had an increase in pollution? Sahaj, what do you think?
Well, maybe they're not taking care of social distancing and they're just going around They're still going to school and stuff.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. I also thought that myself, and I did a little research. And they're actually one of the most shut down places on the planet right now because Italy had a very bad case. Italy was the second worst after China, and now the United States is the worst. But guys, guess what happened in Rome? It's very cold this winter. Now the winter's over now, but it was very cold, and everybody was staying inside for the first time ever. Because in Rome, they're always outside, moving about and walking. So what do you think they did inside their houses? They had to put on what? What machine? The heat. And heat has these units outside that emit nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere. And I think that's why they have had a big problem. But it's really exciting to look at these numbers. Now, I want you guys, this is kind of fun. I enjoy, I took a bar and I split it up into 10 pieces, so each piece represents 10%. Can you guys please color in with if you have a colored pencil or even just a regular pencil, color in the percentage of reduction. So for New York, we have a 25% reduction.
Oh, I accidentally colored in how much pollution is still left. Is that okay too?
Well, you know, that's okay for the first one, but going forward, what I want you to do is look at the percentage of pollution left. So in New York, and this is actually mathematically called the complement. What is the complement of 25%, everybody? How much pollution is left? Go.
75%.
So what is the complement? So what I want you guys to do is to go down the list and fill in the percent reduction, and then fill in the complement of that. Fill in the percent reduction with color or just shading, and then do the complement of that and see if you can give us those percentages. Because I like to think in both percentages and then their complement 100%. And then if you have any questions, I would really like to know what your questions are.
Should we chat you the reductions?
You can just do them, but if you have any particular questions, something that bothers you on the list or something that's not working out really well, I'd really love to see your ideas. And then also your suggestions as to how to solve those problems. Shahan?
How do you do Rome? Should we just do?
Well, wait a minute. You know what, Shahan?
Yeah.
You found a big problem. So now I want you to see what you can do to solve it, and then I'll hear everybody and what they did. Really interesting. Rome is a big, big issue. What do we do to show the percent of pollution?
So is this on a page?
This is on page 6.
Well, you could have like 100, and then you could like color over 100.
Oh, there it
To
is.
show that there's more pollution than 100. Well, you can't really go over 100%.
Why not?
Because 100% is full.
Well,
So it'd have to be like 100 plus.
you know, I'm going to let the other mathletes respond to that. Does anybody agree or disagree with Alex? Can anybody give a counter example or a way that you'd like to show Rome? Because this is the way, you know, mathematicians will show all types of data. And they have to come up with ways that's fair. Sahaj, what do you think?
way I did it is that I colored 30% on the other side.
So you colored 30%, but doesn't the color represent pollution reduction?
Mm,
So this 30% that you colored in right here, doesn't that represent a reduction? Can anybody think of what, Shahan, what do you think you might do here?
This. Wow.
Ah, what do you guys think about that? Look at what Shahan did. He actually added 30%. So who can tell me what is the total pollution? And Alex, I'm going to respond to your question about can you have more than 100%? What percent of Rome's pollution do they have now? Go.
one,
What percent? They had 100%.
They still have
130.
basically, you can't really go over 100, so they still have 100. Well, yeah, you could do that too.
And here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Let's say, and I'm gonna give you a blank page here. Let's say that Rome had I don't know, an air quality index of exactly 200. You guys with me?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that was their parts per million, parts per 5 or 10 million, right? So 200 parts per 10 million, as you know, is considered unsafe. Now they have, and that's 100% of what Rome had. Now they have 130%. Don't say it out loud, but what do you think Rome has now in terms of their air quality? What would be 130% of 200%? I'm sorry, of not 200%, of 200. What would 130% of 200 be?
So basically 130 into 200.
Not into. Guys, what is 30% of 200? What's 3 times 2?
6.
Okay, so what is 30% of 200?
6.
Not 6. That's
60.
3%. So 30% of 200 is 60. So 130% would be the 200 plus the 60, which is what?
260.
Exactly. So Rome, even though Rome had a particular air quality index, their air quality index is now 30% worse than it was. So I would say that I agree with Shahan's method of adding 30% to what's left over for Rome. And what did you guys get for the complement of Sao Paulo, Brazil? Go.
I got 67.
67%. London, go. Everybody.
91%.
Madrid, go.
89%.
89%.
And just wait till I say go. All right, guys? Delhi, go.
40%.
40%.
Mumbai,
66%.
66%.
Wuhan,
56%.
56%.
and Seoul, Korea.
46%.
46%.
Now, guys, I am amazed at these numbers. They are truly amazing numbers and very, very exciting. Now, the other thing I did is I said, why not look at a circle graph? Split up the circle graph into 10 equal pieces, each one representing 10%, And remember last week we did longitude, latitude, which was 360 degrees around the planet, both latitude and then longitudes, okay? Now, do you see how 360 divided by 10 is 36 degrees?
Uh-huh.
Is everybody with me there? Haley, do you see that? And therefore, guys, every 10% is 36 degrees. Now, can anybody tell me how I was able to split that circle up into such a perfect 10%? I mean, I cheated, and I'm going to tell you in a second what I did, but who has an idea about how I might have cheated? Because
I think you cheated by like you used an app where you made the circle size, but they always came out as
Annotate.
perfect circles, just in different sizes.
well,
Annotate.
interesting question. I want to hear Serena. Go for it. And Alex, next time, just raise your hand electronically. It'll be more organized. Go for it, Serena.
Maybe you like annotated on the screen.
What do you mean by annotated?
Well, sometimes people can like press few options and then it says annotate, and then you can draw on the screen and make straight lines and circles.
And Raj?
I think you split that circle in half, then split it into fifths on each side.
And you know what, guys? You're going to try that in just a second. Look what I did. I took a regular decagon from my program and I overlaid it on the circle. And look what I did. All I did was attach the vertices. All I did was attach the vertices through the center. So that was cheating. We are not very good at that in the United States, just so you know, because we lack a metric system that the rest of the world uses, okay? We are not good at dividing things into thirds, fifths, or tenths, whereas we are very good at what? Cutting things in half, 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 like the way we make our pizzas. Now, I want you guys to go to page 8, please. Bless you.
18?
Page 8, the cube of 2, the square root of 64. And I want you guys to go to the circle next to Sao Paulo. So go to the circle next to Sao Paulo. And what I want you to do first, and I'm going to give you kind of my best practice here. I want you to draw a vertical, no, let's draw a horizontal line. Let's draw a horizontal line right through what you think is the center of the circle. And then what I want you to do is I want you to split each semicircle. I'm sorry, no, scratch that. Only do one semicircle and split it into 5 equal arcs. And the way I do it is, what do you guys think? Is that pretty good? 4 dots, creating 5 sections. And now watch what I do with my little pen. I take my pencil right through the center, from each point through the center to the other side of the circle. So this is not going to be as perfect as what I did on the previous page, but it will be really, really nice. Why don't you guys practice that and then shade in not only the percentage of pollution reduction for Sao Paulo, but also the degree measurement. Remember, each one of these pieces is 10% and 36 degrees. So for Sao Paulo, I'm going to have to add 36, 36, 36, And who could tell me what is 30% of 36? Or a third, let's call it a third of 36. Go ahead, say it.
12.
And now all I have to do is add 36 3 times plus 12. Don't say the answer out loud. Write it down. And I want to see your circles. So let's see what you can come up with circle-wise. And I showed you an example of Los Angeles. And I estimated that that little 1% was 4 degrees. These are just estimates, by the way. And guys, we always have the problem of Rome.
Yeah.
Not sure what you guys are going to do with this, but kind of interested to see it. So don't say it out loud. Think about how you could represent it. Oh, by the way, Alex, very nice on your degree measurement for New York's reduction. Anybody have any questions? Let's see what I can do here. Oh, I don't like that. Let me do it. Okay, so guys, I cheated again. And look what I did for Rome. Did anybody have a different way of showing Rome is now at 130% pollution? Alex?
Well, the way I did it was I kind of just drew another like smaller circle and filled in another and filled in 3 more.
Oh, interesting. But again, be careful of the fill, because our fill represents pollution reduction, and our sort of red complement of 100% represents pollution remaining. So nice job though on that second circle. I like that. I like that. So can you guys show me now what you have? Just like hold up to the screen. I'm really interested to see how you split up your circle into tenths. And Haley, you're gonna have to hold it right in front of your face, because otherwise okay, so turn off your virtual, because your virtual won't allow it to be seen. Go for it. Oh, cool. Very, very cool. Serena, let me see yours, please, when you are ready. And, oh, Sahaj, nice. Nice. Shahan, let's see. And Haley, let's see yours again. And Brandon. Oh, nice. Nice. And Brandon, let's see yours.
Wait, how do I show it?
You hold it up to the camera. Just the same way your face is in the screen. If you hold up your work, we get to see that too. There you go. Serena, do you have can you show me what you have? Your work on page 8? And how about you, Brandon? Can you hold your work up as well? And Alex, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just looking for page 8. I don't think I have it actually.
So you don't have the page that looks
Yeah,
like
I
this?
was just trying to look for it.
Oh, okay. No worries. Thank you, Brandon. That was great. And so, guys, I want to show you one more thing, and then you guys can do some exploration during the week. So this is one of the most interesting things that I found in my research. So in my research, guys, everybody look up at the screen, please. There was a day that will live in infamy, which is March 22nd, 2020 at 7 a.m. At that very moment, the president of India got on the loudspeaker all over the country and announced that they were going to have a shutdown called the Janta curfew. Now, this was the biggest curfew ever imposed on the planet. How many people live in India approximately? Do you know? Does anybody know how many people?
1.5 billion.
Very
I
close.
thought it was more like 1.2.
Well, you know, that's still a pretty big number. So India's population is actually not only one of the largest in the world, but it's the fastest growing, which it's going to surpass China very, very soon. That is not a good fact. Now, if I want to show you this, guys, I gave you 102 cities around India, and what happened 24 hours, Serena, listen to this, 24 hours after the curfew, the air quality index changed to reduce pollution in 85 of 102 cities. So in Amarvardi, it actually went up by 20. Not good. In this next one, which I can only sing, I can't really pronounce, Rajamahendravaram. Okay, so what was the increase in AQI, guys? Go. Plus what?
11.
Pretty close.
9.
Plus 9. And then we had another Tirupati plus 4. And then you guys can now go to these pages and look at all the pluses and the minuses. Now, I want to give you guys, before you guys go do this, I want you to all stop working and look up at my page for just a second. One of the things that I do when I'm subtracting, guys, is I look for a number, a friendly number inside. So my friendly number here is 200. And then I simply say, okay, from 149 to 200 is what? Come on, guys. You can say it. You can say it.
51.
Come on, say it. 51 gets me from 149 to 200. And from 200 to 213 is what?
213.
And if you add those together, you find the difference, which is what?
64.
And the answer is a reduction of 64. So you can use that method on many of these. So for instance, here you could say, oh, let's say that my important number here is 190 and 120. I can actually add 2 plus 70 plus 3. And what do I get? A difference of what, guys? What?
75.
75.
Exactly right. So use different strategies to get there. Look at Gaia. Look at Gaia. 83 to me is 17. 116 is 16. Add them together, what do we get?
30.
33.
Plus 33. So I want you guys to go through those and look at all the amazing statistics. Almost every single one of these cities has come down in pollution. And
Some have gone up.
so only about 20 of the 102 went up. I'm actually one of those people who I've never been to India and I really want to go. So this is the best time in history, really, at least in the last 30 years, to go to India because it is so clean. It is so clean and it's such a special place. So I want you to look at these cities. Pretty amazing.
It wouldn't be so clean if it weren't for the coronavirus. Because of the coronavirus, we can't go to India.
Well, that is a little bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Now, guys, Mumbai had no change. So it was neutral, no change. But guess what? 3 months later, it is, I think it reduced its pollution by about 40%. So Mumbai, which was one of the worst cities for air quality, has gone way, way down and is so much safer than it ever was before. Really beautiful.
Faridabad went down a lot too.
Which one is that?
Faridabad. Faridabad, the 20th city.
Oh, the 20th city? Oh yeah, that's on another page. Pretty cool. Now, guys, I want you guys to look at all of the silver linings that came out of this wonderful time that we live in. And I say wonderful because there's a lot of things that I used to take for granted. You know, I've been able to spend more time with my friends that live around the world now. Believe it or not, I consider it just as good. Every week, I have 2 or 3 parties where we have Zoom calls and it's just like this, but instead of doing math, we're talking about our lives and our families and our hopes and our dreams and also our philosophies. So it's really cool to look for silver linings, and I hope that you all find them. I hope that you all find them. Now, guys, I have prepared something for you for next week. Do not miss next week because it is going to be the most fun game. It's one of my favorite games. I'm going to introduce it to you next week. And now what I want to do is I want to ask you this. Let's see, what would be a really good number? Why don't we go again from negative 360 and let's go by
36.
By 36 degrees. All right, let's go. Negative 360, go.
Negative 324.
24. Go to the next.
Negative
290. 80.
88.
I'm thinking 88. And do you know how I got that, guys? I used my method of 12 and 24. Do you see this with 300 as my friendly? And that's how I got to 288. Okay, next, go.
Negative 252.
Keep going.
Negative 200.
Negative 228.
Negative 226.
Say no.
No. Yeah. No.
8.
What do you guys think?
Negative 200.
Guys, if I'm going to
20.
252 and I'm subtracting 36, you know that I'm going to end with a 6, right?
6.
Right? And that's going to be 2 what?
16.
16.
216. So you got to be really careful there. Now, 216 is also special because 216 is 6 cubed. Let's keep going, guys. Negative 216, and then one of our
Negative-
favorite, negative
Negative
180.
180, and then negative 1.
Negative
Negative
144.
Oh, that's
144.
Keep going. Negative
Negative
108.
8.
negative
Negative
70.
72.
2.
Negative
Negative
36.
36.
But don't
But
ever
don't
say
ever
negative
Negative
0.
0.
2,
2,
4,
4, 6,
8.
8. Who do we appreciate?
Mathletes.
Mathletes.
Go
Go
mathletes. And I will say to you to go enjoy the world in which we live, breathe in the beautiful air, and look at the mountains and never take anything for granted. I'll see you guys in a week's time and enjoy your percentage reductions and degree reductions. Say goodbye to all your friends.
In 166 hours,
Bye.
54 minutes.
Ah, you are right. You are right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.